Hey, how's it going guys? My name is Frozer and today I'm going to make a longer video on how to grind as a Cadena in regular server. The reason why I'm doing that video and showing this grinding spots is there has been a lot of videos for Cadena on YouTube which are specifically catered for Reboot players, and unfortunately during my grinding as a Cadena to 250 I haven't really found any guidelines on how to grind as Cadena, so I kind of had to come up with a lot of stuff. And since people tend to ask more and more what the optimal grinding spots are, I guess I will just do this video since I mostly came up with the rotations by myself. I had some helps here and there for a couple of maps, but I hope this will help you guys on how to farm efficiently and also making a little bit of profit while doing the grinding in the regular server, because with Frenzy service you should be able to make a little bit of mess during most of the grinding sessions that you do. In the beginning it's not a lot, but yes, it will be better as soon as you get to the higher level areas. So also, as a heads up, I may show some of the maps that are suboptimal and give some explanations. That's why this video will probably a little bit longer than you would normally see on the grinding, on other grinding videos such as Sacrix. Because I will go a little bit in depth on why certain maps work and why some of them just don't. So hope you bear that in mind. But I will add some timestamps a little bit down below that will show some of the maps that you can grind, so you don't have to watch me blabbling about Cadena for around 30 minutes or something. Oh boy, okay, so let's start up with a map that you can do if you're somehow not strong enough for Vanishing journey. You should be able to, because Cadena's base damage is relatively high. But for some reason, if that does not work, pretty much like the one and only map that you can do, which is very, very good, is Forsaken Excavation Site 2, or short for FES 2. Okay, I'm kind of surprised that I found a map right there, because I'm recording this on a Sunday and usually you see people coin capping on their mules. So it's good to have a free map here. So for FES 2, the rotation is very simple. You can use Maelstrom here, which you should get as soon as you get to 5th job. And as you can see, it just clears 2 lanes at the same time. If you have a Lucid Summon at this point, you can place it on either side, on the left or on the right, because there will be a couple of mobs probably being stuck there if you're doing the rotation, since you mostly never go all the way to the left or the right. Okay, so the rotation is as follows. You start up here, place Maelstrom to clear the top 2 platforms, and then you just use Trash on left and right, and clear the mobs whatever you can find on the bottom platform. If you don't have a Lucid summon, you can also just use Shuriken if it one-shots, and do the same as well. It's a very simple rotation that you can do. Also, if you want, you can also place Maelstrom down there and then move up with Brick and do the same thing. And then just place Maelstrom here. Throw Shuriken. Yeah, and just start doing this rotation. You kind of have to use Maelstrom every 7 or 8 seconds in order to have constant uptime on it. Which, luckily for most of the rotations, you should be able to do just fine. Alright, if you're strong enough, however, you can go to Vanishing Journey, and then you can go to Below the Cave. Below the Cave is pretty much like the largest map that we're going to do, but it's also one of the... It's probably just way better than Fez 2 at all costs, but again, sometimes this map is kind of populated, so... Yeah, if you have Lucid Soul, I would suggest probably putting it up here, because that is like the one platform where most of the enemies will get stuck while doing the rotation. In my case, I really didn't use it because it turns out that like the Lucid Summon wasn't that great at the beginning, and especially like if you're not that funded, then you should probably just do the following rotation that I'm going to show you. So here you want to place Maelstrom on the right side, then use Trash, and then whatever weapon skills you have available to clear this, and then you can go back to the right and pretty much do the same. Sometimes those when you're doing jump attacks, you won't hit them. If that happens, you can also just use a shuriken and just kill every remaining lanterns. But usually you should be able to full clear it. Or you can also use your other weapon skills such as Dagger for this platform, and then Shotgun or Brick on this one. If you don't want to move around left and right, you can also use the teleports here. You have to use it twice though. If you're using Lucid, then you can just use this teleport and place Lucid up here, and then you will automatically go to the right side. It's a very simple rotation, but I feel like sometimes whenever you don't go to the right again, then you will miss out on a lot of mobs in the middle. Because the spawn rate for Frenzy is quite insane in this map. If you cannot find a map here, there is also the eastern Cavern paths. Here, I will show you why I kind of prefer the other map before this one. So if you place Maelstrom here, as you can see, the lanterns won't get hit at all by Maelstrom in the middle part of the map. And in general, most mobs are usually on the right side here, because like again, those platforms on the right and in the middle are quite long. But it's a decent alternative. Also, it usually has a high burning if you want to use this. But it's, again, like, either map is perfectly fine for grinding, I feel like. There's some small drawbacks, but again, usually those levels are going quite fast. Especially if you use like 2x cards from Cash Shop and whatever buffs you have available. The other maps are, I feel like, not that great. So that's why we kind of want to go into the cave maps and stay there. Alright, so I didn't do Reverse City when I was grinding the Cadena to 250, but if you really want to, you can grind to Hidden Research, and pretty much like where everyone else is grinding. Because this map is really good, especially with Frenzy. The rotation is a little bit weird what we have seen so far, because you kind of rely on Maelstrom clearing multiple platforms. On this map it's not different. So you can place Maelstrom either here or there, and then use Shuriken. This takes care of the right side of the map. And then use your weapon skills to clear the mobs here. And as soon as Maelstrom runs out, you just go back and place it again. This map can be quite annoying, especially if you don't have a cooldown hat. Because currently I'm using a -2-second cooldown hat. So like I can use my weapon skills more often. And as you can see, the weapon skills have a lot of range when it comes to the height of the skill. Brick especially is probably like the best mobbing skill that you can use for all of the maps pretty much. The other ones are Dagger, that you kind of want to use in the air, and this one, Rain of Chains. If you have Rain of Chains up, let me show that again, and you threw the shuriken, you can just hold down the button and it is insane how many platforms it can actually clear. In the previous maps you just always use it on the bottom floor or use it on one side of the map if you have it on cooldown. If you get a cooldown skip on it, because at this point you may have cooldown skip as an inner ability, use it as often as you can, because it is really good as a mobbing skill. But yeah, I pretty much didn't do Reverse City, but if you want you can grind there until 215. Alright, the next map in Chu Chu Island is really good EXP wise. It's probably like one of the fastest characters that I did from 210 to 220 so far. And the reason for that is quite simple. So, Slurpy Forest devs, it looks like it's not a favorable map for Cadena specifically. Again, we kind of wanted to have like compact maps with like the same, like the lanes right below each other, and rely on our Maelstrom and preferably Void Strike if you want to use it. However, this map, even though it's like a high map, I would say, it is actually really good, and it helps out even more if you have Void Strike up. So the rotation is as follows. So we start in the bottom platform or top platform on the top right. That's your choice. And we place Maelstrom in the middle. Then we can just use Trash to clear the mobs on the left and on the right. And before Maelstrom on the bottom expires, you place it on top and do the same thing down there. And the EXP rate is really good. And it's very low effort even. But that's like most of the maps that we're going to do. And yeah, that rotation, I feel like there's not a place where you can use Lucid Soul, because you pretty much full clear every time. If you really want to use Lucid Soul, however, I guess you can either place it on the top platform, or you can place it on the left platform here. Because even though Trash has a really big range, sometimes the mobs will just survive here for a while, but usually they shouldn't. And for the bottom platform, again, you can do that. Another thing that I kind of want to say right now is, for some people, at least as far as I've heard, I haven't experienced it myself, is if the servers are quite laggy, or if your ping is too high, however, you may not want to use Pursuit to get up here. It's the faster method to do so, but otherwise it's not that bad if you cannot use it, because Pursuit unfortunately is ping reliant to get up, so sometimes it just won't get stuck here, or it will stuck like 5 seconds later. I've heard multiple stories about it, so if that fails, you can just use the teleport here, go up, and then you can just jump down and use Claw immediately to go to this part of the platform. I guess you can just use trash, just fine. Yeah. You kind of want you sometimes also want to use the weapon skills, but if you can just one-shot without stacking up the attack, it's perfectly fine. You don't have to use them at all for this map. The other alternative is Bitty-Bobble Forest 1, but I would highly not recommend it because it's, as you can see, Maelstrom doesn't hit the top platform. If it would, I would even say this map is super lazy, and it is pretty good overall. In that case, you just place Maelstrom to get a lot of kills on one side. You can place Lucid Soul on whatever side you prefer, and then you just use your weapon skills up there. Usually a rotation between brick, dagger, and shotgun. And if you have Rain of Chains, you can also clear this map, the one side of the map, pretty easily. But I would really not recommend grinding here. Just go there if you either want to see a different map than Slurpy Forest Depths, or if you just prefer this map for whatever reason. It's up to you. Okay, the next map in Yum Yum Island, you can pretty much start it at 215. You can go to Hidden Illard Field, which is pretty much Phase 2 with some extra steps, I would say. So, the rotation is quite simple here as well. You want to use Maelstrom in the middle, go up with either Pursuit or Brick. Then you just use Trash, and before it expires, you go down there and do the same thing. If you want some extra kills, and if there is a lot of mobs spawning on either the far left or the far right platform, you can place your Maelstrom on this side, use your Shuriken, and then use your weapon skills on whatever side you're using. Again, shotgun, brick, and daggers are the one that you kind of want to use. For Rain of Chains, you kind of use it if your Maelstrom is on the top platform, and then it just clears pretty much half of the map as usual. I did this map until 220. It was really good experience wise, but that's pretty much like for all the hidden maps in general. And it's also like a nice change of pace if you want to not grind in Slurpy Forest Depths. Highly recommend this map in general. Alright, next map that we're going to do is, because Hidden Illard Field and Slurpy Forest Depths are the two maps that you want to grind on at all costs. So, at 220, there's Lachelein and Revelation placed 3, and that map is pretty much like the only good map that I can find for Cadena. So, first a heads up, as for most classes, you really want to put your Lucid Soul up here. The reason for that is quite simple. There is only one really good spot where you can place your Maelstrom, which is here. But you will realize during grinding that you will probably not land on this platform a lot. But if you manage to land on this platform, it clears a couple of mobs on top here as well. But other than that, you will usually just place Maelstrom here and then do the rest on the opposite side of the map. So again, here, the rotation for this is as follows. So we start up here, place Maelstrom, then go to the left and use the weapon skills or the dagger, and as soon As soon as it expires, you place it down here or on the spot where I showed you before, and then do the same here again. If you have Rain of Chains up, you kind of want to use it when you go to the left side, and it almost clears the entire side, with one exception, which is like at the top of the roof. Yeah, unfortunately nothing much you can do here, but that's like the only real weakness this map has. But other than that, it's pretty good. And it's like a map that you can do pretty much whenever you feel like it after 220. And you can stay there until 225, because after this kind of boring map, there is a lot of options that we actually have in Arcana. Okay, so at this point when you're grinding and you get a little bit of meso gear, usually like around 60 and 80%, that's the point where you will be able to make around 300 to 360 mil an hour. In comparisons to other classes, this doesn't sound a lot, but it is much higher than like most people expected from mainly like mainly a bossing known class. So this is pretty much also the point where you can make a lot of meso if you have, again, met the meso and drop gear available at this point. I mean, in Lachelein you could do up to 300. The highest I managed to make was 280 with full meso gear though. But this is the point where you can actually just grind for profit. So there are 3 maps that you can go. So at 225, this is the first map that I would highly recommend. Forest of Earth. It is pretty much like the starting map for most of the people that are 225. If you're somehow not funded enough, this is probably like the best map to stay until 227. The rotation with this one is kinda loose if you want. It doesn't really have a set rotation. You just want to use your weapon skills and clear as many mobs as possible, wherever they are getting stuck on. If you have Maelstrom up, you kinda want to place it somewhere on the middle platform, because this takes care of a couple of mobs in the middle and on the top. But usually with your weapon skills, such as, again, dagger and brick, and sometimes shotgun as well, you should be able to clear, not to full clear the map, but you should be able to get some really good experience. In certain occasions, it's probably slightly better than one other map that I will show you. It's a good map also for coin capping, I feel like, because again, there's a lot of mobs that spawn just here. So if you're coin capping and you don't want to ask someone for a frenzy service, or you just don't want to buy, perfectly fine, you can just do this map, and coin capping goes reasonably fast. Okay, so the maps that have an actual rotations is, of course, CLP. But as a note, I really despise CLP on all the characters that I've grinded on so far. The map, you can make decent meso rates around like 300-ish, I think. But oh boy, it's not good EXP wise, not at all. But the rotation again is quite simple. So here you can place Maelstrom on in the middle, Trash on all the way from the left to the right, and before it expires you put it down there and do the same thing, pretty much. You cannot always full clear the map, but if you have Lucid Soul, you can probably just place it on this side, somewhere around here. Or for whatever reason, if you're in Esfera, you can also use the will skill here. And this should take care at least on the left side of the map. If you're down there and there is mobs on the top right that just seemingly to get stuck on, there is a solution for that. But unfortunately it is not a 100% up. So if you place Cannon, which is one of the 5th job skills that you normally use for bossing, as you can see, it also just clears on the top right side just fine. The base damage on it is also quite good, so if you really want to use it, then you can just do that and you can get some extra kills here and there. But again, it's not a good map in my opinion. Because the next one, which is just the map to the left, is LP1, and LP1 has a really good rotation. I feel like that makes around 340-ish mil an hour if you have a vac pet. Without vac pet, I would say around 320 mil an hour. Just perfectly reasonable for this class. Anyways, so you start up here. And I will just do the rotation first to show you how it would look like if I don't get stuck on the rope. Okay. Wait until it's on cooldown, off cooldown. Okay. Okay, so unfortunately without Frenzy it doesn't show you why you kinda want to use it specifically, so I'll do it step by step. The first one, as you see, I use Shuriken to the left. Shuriken will be responsible to take care of all the mobs on the top, because they will add up a little bit. If you one-shot with Shuriken, that's really good. If you two-shot, it's still perfectly fine. Then you use Maelstrom on this side on the right to just clear those 3 platforms pretty much. After you placed it, you just use Trash twice while using Flash Jump. You can also go for 3 if you really want to, or you can use a double Flash Jump to clear the mobs on top. The major issue is if you use a double Flash Jump, those befuddling spirits, I think that's the name, you won't hit them, so you really want to use just single Flash Jumps, even though it doesn't hit the mobs on top. So after you went to the left, as soon as you land, you want to use Brick. This should be able to clear a couple of mobs on these platforms. Then, right after the mob spawned again, you jump up and use Shotgun. That should also take care of most of the mobs here. And with the Ricochet, you can either turn around and use a normal attack. Let me do that again. To clear the mobs on the top. Or you can wait, land here, clear the mobs down there, and then jump up and use Dagger. This rotation you will have to get used to, but it is one of the I would say one of the more fun rotation, and it also shows like the playstyle of Cadena quite well, where you use different skills in order to maximize your damage. What you can see, what you also saw here is muscle memory actually helps clearing out the top platform. So if somehow a lot of mobs get stuck on top after using the shuriken, you can use a regular jump and dagger, and you should be able to clear the top platform as well. But sometimes it's just the timing is very specific, because if you jump, like if you use dagger too early, you won't hit the top platform with the muscle memory proc, which is like the small chains that you see on top. If you jump too late, you will miss the befuddling spirits again. Again, you don't really have to, but it is good. If you have Void Strike up, just putting the Maelstrom down there should take care at least of the right side of the map. On the left side, if Rain of Chains is up, then you can just use Rain of Chains and clear like the rest of the map. If you have it off usually if you have it off cooldowns after you used it due to cooldown skip, it is still recommended to throw the shuriken and place the Maelstrom here, because the thing is, Maelstrom only has a duration of 8 seconds, so you kind of want to refresh it at all costs. But if you get the cooldown skip on the skills, just try to use it as much as you can. But yeah, it's a really good map overall, and it is also very satisfying. Unfortunately, it's not super lazy as CRP, but it's good nevertheless. Okay, now I've talked a lot about Arcana, because yeah, Arcana in general are probably mostly the good maps for grinding. Until 235, and then we go to Esfera, and Esfera has one particular map, which is MTS3, and that's a point where I actively made around 430 to even up to 450 mil an hour. And the rotation surprisingly isn't that hard either. However, it requires you to use Pursuit, which I will show in this rotation, or it also requires you to one-shot with Shuriken, for the reasons which I will show. So I will do the rotation first again, because it will be hard to explain right at the same time where I'm using it. But again, it's quite simple to do so as well. As you can see, like, I can almost full clear this map with pretty much all of the skills that I have. And it all started when you realize that Maelstrom has an abysmal hitbox when it comes down there. Well, like when it comes to the bottom, because whenever you cast Maelstrom, it hits exactly everything that is on the alignment of the platform. The good thing about this map is the spiders have a pretty large hitbox overall. So that's why if you use Maelstrom here, you can clear the platforms also below you. And it is insane that you can do that, because by clearing those 3 platforms, you can just focus on going down here. And also you can focus on clearing those mobs on this one. If you have Lucid Soul, highly recommend putting it up here or down here. Or if you have Will Skill, you can also place it down here. Usually there is around like 4 to 5 mobs on this platform, so if you miss out on a couple of kills, it's not the end of the world. Anyways, so again, it starts out with Maelstrom, then you want to either use Brick and Claw to get down there fast, or you want to fall down here, use Dagger and Claw again to go down here fast. And after that, you just trash left and right, and use Shuriken if it's off cooldown. And you wait until the Maelstrom expired here. And if you've seen the rotation before, I used Cannon on this spot. It gives you a little bit of extra kills when you have downtime while moving up and resetting Maelstrom. Again, one of the points where it's really good to use Cannon off cooldown as much as possible. And for Rain of Chains, after using the Shuriken, you can just use Rain of Chains and then move left and right. Just perfectly fine. If you have a Vec Pet, you can get around 430 mil. Without it, I think 400 should still be possible. You will still have to spend time looting the meso bags up here and down here. If you don't have a Vec Pet, which again on regular servers is kind of understandable because they're crazy expensive. At least in Luna you pay around 25 bill, I think, for it. You can also go here. MTS2. It has easier platforms to loot, but EXP wise it is way worse though. So again, just feel whatever map you want to do. And for this one, it's pretty much the problem that you cannot clear the platforms on top very consistently. You can use Shuriken and use all the weapon skills here and try to clear the platform here. If all of your skills on cooldown, you just trash, move up again, and clear those. Clear this section at least, while Maelstrom is up. Another thing that you cannot do, unfortunately, is if you place Maelstrom down here, for example, or down here, you cannot hit the spiders, so it is unfortunately not that good for grinding, but it's a decent alternative if you want to do Esfera. Okay, now here comes Sellas, and I'm completely honest with you, I am not a fan of Sellas on the Cadena at least. If we go by the two most popular maps, which I will just show relatively short, they have two major issues. The first major issue is Maelstrom doesn't hit two platforms in SSS1, which makes rotations kinda awkward because someone actually forgot to loot an ozone. Okay. Like if you place Maelstrom in the middle, it doesn't hit the top platform. So you kinda have to rely on Maelstrom taking care of the bottom platform, and then you need to use trash or whatever weapon skills to clear the top. And I feel like EXP wise, MTS3 is just way better. With SSS4, there is a different problem. SSS4 is basically another fast type of map, but and it can also clear two platforms just fine if I place it in the middle or top. whatever you feel like it. Main issue is there's not a lot of mobs, even though right now you see a lot of them. But the map is a little bit awkward with the left and the right platforms in between the second and the third row. And the skill set of Cadena doesn't really allow to clear mobs down below you. The only skills that can do so just by themselves is Brick, and that's pretty much it, because Dagger somehow just doesn't hit the bottom platform, as you can see. Rain of Chains also only hits 2 platforms instead of 3. And the only way to kill the bottom platform continuously from here is if you switch between weapon arts, because in that case muscle memory somehow still hits the mobs in the bottom, but it is kinda inconsistent, and it also relies on you hitting the mobs first with the respective skill. So I would not really recommend Sellas, even if everyone praises it like crazy. It's just not good enough in comparison to MTS 3. Okay, so you can stay in MTS 3 until 245 or 250. 245, if you stay at until 245, you can go to the next map, which is Void Current 3. Again, pretty much like the only map that you can do as efficiently as Cadena. Yeah, I will show you the rotation. It is very simple. You place Maelstrom on one side, then clear the rest with the weapon skills and trash. Place Maelstrom here and do the same thing over and over again. Preferably here you don't want to spam your weapon skills. Usually you want to just use one. Preferably Brick, because trash on the left side just clears 3 lanes at the same time. On the right side, however, that's not 100% the case. So if you're staying here and you want to use trash, the purple mobs just die perfectly fine, but the pink ones, you won't be able to hit that at all. Even though it looks like the platforms are on the same level, the one on the right is just 1 or 2 pixels higher, and that makes a big difference in this map. And it also questions Nexon's map design in that case, because if they're trying to do a mirrored map and do something like that where you cannot hit the platform because of just 1 pixel, it is really annoying. But yeah, you can just move left and right, use the weapon skills, do some attacks, then switch left and right. That one is relatively low effort, and meso-wise it's also pretty good. Like, I think I did around 450-ish mil with Vecpad and everything, so you should be able to get closer to 400 at least. Without Vecpad, the meso looting is kind of annoying, but yeah. If you can also, if you're looting mesos, you can use rain from up here and then just fall down. And then you should be able to loot the mesos, at least on the bottom platform, while still killing mobs. After using rain, however, you kind of need to move back to the middle platform and then continue your rotation. If you have it off, like if you got the cooldown skip on it, use rain on the first side. As soon as you're done, place Maelstrom, go to the other side, use rain again, do the same movement again. But yeah, that's pretty much it, the grinding from 200 to 250. Yes, doesn't really. People are like really scared about combo classes and combo class grinding in general. As you can see, like with the exception of just one map, most of the grinding is actually very simple. You mostly use trash and you want to use the weapon art skills in rotation at least in order to keep your damage buffs up if it's necessary. But other than that, the Maelstrom is just super important. Cannon in specific maps and Rain of Chains as well. Other than that, it's actually very simple to grind as a Cadena. Other common misconception that I've heard from a couple of people that never played the class is the mobbing is bad, which is partially true, I guess, but I feel like in that case you just have to work around your limitations that you have. In that case, your cooldowns. Luckily, with the basic attack of Cadena, you don't have to rely on your cooldowns as much. It is just limiting on how to do certain maps, but by just like learning the rotations and work smart, you can probably grind really well. And again, if you use Maelstrom is just absurd, and it really helped the class grind at all. So I will probably do a later video for Limina, or just like a short rotation guide as well, as soon as I get to 255, which will probably take a couple of months considering my laziness. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed it, even if the video has been really long so far right now. So in case you have other map ideas that I could try out, again, preferably just for regular servers, just hit me up, just write down in the comments, and yeah, if you're in the Cadena Discord, just ask right away. Alright, thanks everyone for watching, hope you enjoyed it, and see you guys soon.